Stop what you're doing for just 1 second and listen to me. Do you hear that? That faint, high-pitched whistle, that persistent hiss that seems to be coming from the center of your skull rather than the room around you? Most people call it tinnitus. Your doctor probably called it age-related, handed you a brochure for a white noise machine, and told you to learn to live with it. But I'm telling you right now, as a medical researcher who has spent my career digging into the clinical data they choose to ignore, that sound is not a death sentence for your silence. It's an SOS signal, a biological alarm bell. Your auditory nerve is screaming for help because it's being starved of the very fuel it needs to function. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to shut that alarm off. Because if you're over 50 and your ears won't stop ringing, you don't just have an ear problem, you have a cellular starvation problem. And until we fix the hunger, the noise will never stop. I see patients like you every single day in my practice, and I want to tell you about a man named Roberto, 62 years old, a brilliant structural engineer. But when he sat in my office 7 months ago, he was a ghost of himself. He hadn't slept more than 4 hours a night in 3 years. He told me, "Dr. Kent, the specialists say my tests are normal, but I feel like I'm losing my mind." I looked at those normal tests, and I'll tell you exactly what I told Roberto. Normal is just a statistical average of a sick population. Your doctor sees a vitamin B12 level at the bottom of the range and checks a box. I see that same number, and I see a nerve that is literally stripping its own insulation away, sparking like a frayed copper wire. When your auditory nerve sparks, your brain hears a beep. That beep is a short circuit. If you've been told your tests are fine, but your head is screaming, you are being failed by a system that doesn't understand neurological nutrition. Today, we are going to go deep into the 8 specific phantom sound killers that conventional medicine is missing. To understand why the ringing won't stop, you have to understand how fragile your hearing actually is. Deep inside your inner ear, there's a tiny vessel called the labyrinthine artery. It's so small, so microscopic that a single red blood cell can barely squeeze through it. Now, imagine what happens when your body is inflamed, or when your blood is even slightly too thick. That tiny pipe constricts. The hair cells in your cochlea, the ones that turn vibrations into sound, begin to suffocate. They don't just die, they malfunction. They send ghost signals. This is where the 2025 research from Newcastle University comes in. They discovered that tinnitus isn't just in the ear. It's a failure of the brain to filter these error messages. It's a process called neural synchrony, where your brain cells start chanting together in a loop. And if we don't fix the microcirculation and break that loop, your brain stays locked in a cycle of processing noise that isn't even there. We have to clear the pipes and feed the cells to reset the system. Let's talk about the first line of defense, zinc. But I'm not talking about cheap multivitamins. Your inner ear holds one of the highest concentrations of zinc in your entire body, and for a reason. The hearing process creates massive amounts of oxidative stress, and zinc is your antioxidant shield. Without it, your hearing cells literally rust. But here's the secret most people miss. You might be eating the zinc, but you aren't absorbing it. I call these the invisible killers. If you're consuming high amounts of phytates from processed grains or too much caffeine, you are literally blocking the zinc from reaching your cochlea. You are starving in the middle of a feast. Roberto was eating healthy, but his morning routine was flushing his zinc down the drain. We flooded his system with bioavailable zinc, pumpkin seeds, and specific lean proteins, and removed the blockers. Within weeks, the rust started to clear, and for the first time in years, the volume of the hiss began to drop. Now, I have to tell you something that might shock you. While you're trying to fix your ears, you might be accidentally poisoning them. There's a whole class of substances called ototoxic drugs. These are everyday items, common pain relievers like aspirin, or certain anti-inflammatories that cause direct chemical damage to your hair cells. They trigger a massive release of free radicals, overwhelming your zinc and magnesium shields. If you're taking these regularly for joint pain or headaches, you are throwing water on a fire while pouring gasoline on the other side. My protocol for Roberto involved identifying these hidden toxins and replacing them with natural anti-inflammatories like curcumin and boswellia, giving his ears a chance to finally breathe and recover. But zinc is only the beginning. We have to talk about the insulation. Imagine a high voltage power line. If you strip the rubber coating off that line, it hums, it buzzes, it sparks. That is exactly what is happening to your auditory nerve right now if your vitamin B12 levels aren't in the Kent optimal zone. As we age, our stomachs lose the ability to absorb B12. This leads to demyelination, the thinning of the nerve's protective sheath. When that sheath is thin, the electrical signals leak out. Your brain interprets that leakage as a constant buzzing noise. I don't care if your lab results say 300 or 400 for a senior with tinnitus, that is a deficiency. We need you closer to 800 to even begin the repair process. This is why Roberto's doctor missed it. They were looking for not sick, while I was looking for optimal repair. Why does the ringing get louder when you're stressed? Because of a chemical called glutamate. Glutamate is the gas pedal of the brain. When you're under stress, your brain floods the auditory cortex with it. And if you don't have enough magnesium to act as the brake pedal, you enter a state called excitotoxicity. Your nerves fire so fast, so hard, that they actually begin to damage themselves. This is the glutamate storm. It's why your ears scream after a long day of work or a bad night's sleep. We have to manually reset that brake pedal by flooding the inner ear with the right forms of magnesium, specifically through things like almonds, avocados, and dark leafy greens. We are effectively turning down the gain on your internal amplifier. We are telling the nerve to calm down. If you think vitamin D is just for bones, you are living in the 1990s. The research published in Frontiers in Neurology in early 2026 has completely shifted the landscape. Vitamin D3 is a neurosteroid. It regulates the expression of hundreds of genes in your nervous system, including the genes responsible for protecting your auditory pathway. The study was clear. People with chronic bothersome tinnitus have significantly lower D3 levels than those who don't. Why? Because D3 is the repair foreman of the body. If your foreman is missing, the repairs never get done. You stay stuck in a loop of chronic inflammation. Most of you are hiding from the sun or using so much sunscreen that your D3 levels are in the gutter. We need to get you into that 15 minutes of direct morning sun or prioritize wild-caught salmon and eggs to give your auditory nerve the currency it needs to fix itself. Have you noticed the beep is louder at 3:00 a.m.? It's not just because the room is quiet, it's because your ears have a circadian rhythm. At night, your body tries to enter system repair. If the raw materials aren't there, the zinc, the B12, the magnesium, the repair process stalls. The brain detects the broken signal and amplifies it to find the problem. This is a neural feedback loop. To fix this, your final meal of the day must be your most nutrient-dense for the auditory system. We are going to time your intake to match your body's repair cycle, forcing the brain to recognize the fixed signal and finally quiet the noise. We also have to address the thick blood problem. Your inner ear is supplied by vessels thinner than a human hair, and if your blood is filled with inflammatory markers, it becomes like sludge. It can't deliver the B12 or the zinc to the hair cells. This is where omega-3s come in. They are ear lubricants. They make the cell membranes fluid, flexible, alive. And when you pair that with the vascular protocol using natural vasodilators like ginger, garlic, and ginkgo biloba, you are essentially opening the floodgates. You are allowing the nutrients to finally reach the starving cells. I saw this in Roberto's 4th month. He came in and said, "Dr. Kent, The noise is still there, but it's further away. It's not in the front of my mind anymore. That is the sound of blood finally reaching the auditory nerve. So, what does this mean for you tonight? Tonight, I want you to commit to my auditory rescue dinner. We're talking about a piece of wild-caught baked salmon for the D3 and omega-3s. We're pairing that with a massive salad of baby spinach for the magnesium, topped with a handful of raw pumpkin seeds for the zinc. We dress it with olive oil, fresh lemon, and a grating of fresh ginger to kickstart that microcirculation. That one meal provides a massive biological payload of exactly what your ears are starving for. Do not expect a miracle in 24 hours. Your nerves took years to starve. They will take weeks to recover. But in my research, the first moments of silence usually begin to appear between week 3 and week 6. Roberto didn't just get his silence back, he got his life back. Last month, he sent me a photo of him at a park playing with his 8-year-old daughter. He told me, "Doctor, I can hear her laugh again and without the whistle competing for my attention." That is why I do this. That is why I challenge the normal diagnosis, because you deserve silence. You deserve to go to bed tonight and hear nothing but your own breathing. I want you to share this video with one person you know who is suffering, because millions are being told there is no cure when the cure is sitting right on their dinner plate. Write to me in the comments, how long has your alarm bell been ringing? I read your stories. They are the fuel for my next research project. I am Dr. Michael Kent, and your health is the only metric that matters. I'll see you in the next consultation.